welcome to today's episode of Biz Real Talk, where we're talking all around our healing journey in business. Now, when you go on your business journey, you don't usually expect to go on a healing journey, but somehow we end up there anyway. And to unpack this conversation today, I have got three amazing panelists with us. We've got Vanessa, Helena, and Jennifer. So, who would like to open up the conversation around this?
Sure, I'm happy to start. I suppose for me that it makes sense that business journey is a healing journey because it's about growth. Like if you want to grow a business, and especially if you start out as a solo entrepreneur, the business growth is about your growth. Like you can't grow a business unless you are willing to step up and to take new space and to hold yourself into new places. And every time you hit those boundaries of what you're comfortable with, there's some resolution around your sense of self, your sense of possibility, your family story, whatever it is. There's some place where you need to become more, you need to transform. And whether you call that a healing journey or a transformational journey or a journey of growth and discovery, I think you're constantly in the process of becoming more of who you are. And business gives you lots of opportunities to find the places that you're holding yourself back. It's just the way it is.
It certainly does. I mean, I've been on one heck of a journey the last year. I don't know why when I went back into having a coach again, a business coach, I don't know why I didn't clock the fact that I was going to go on this healing journey as well. Because obviously I've had coaching in the past, and that was during my separation and navigating how that impacted on my business. And I did go on this like healing journey, this growth journey, like the personal growth journey. So why I thought that wouldn't happen again, I don't know why. But this time around, I think I opened myself up to it a lot more because I knew from my previous experience just how much my business could grow from me doing that. I mean, what has been your experience, Vanessa?
It's been more around the fear of being seen and the fear of that judgment of what people are going to say about what I'm doing. So having a podcast and openly talking about my dating journey and then creating an ebook from that and now creating events from that, you're literally putting yourself so vulnerably like in front of people. And you have to do that to grow your business and to connect and network with people. But it's also about like, will people understand like what would their opinion of this be? And it's breaking through that belief about it doesn't matter. Like they're not living the life I want to lead. So like I've done like high ticket affiliate marketing as well. And in that, a lot of people just don't believe it's a genuine business. Like it is, but you've got to put in the work. And it's like, well, I know the potential I have, in this business. And it was people saying all of this stuff like it's a scam, it's not going to work, and so on and so forth. And that's okay, that's their opinion, but you can't let that impact yours. But then that also kind of makes you wonder and hesitate and question your decision. So for me, it was a journey about like trusting myself, knowing that when I'm putting out my stories on my podcast, I'm helping other women who are in a similar situation or who had gone through that but didn't have anyone to resonate with it. And then when you hear feedback from them, it's like, okay, I'm doing the right thing, like I'm on the right track. But it's a lot of hesitation. It's a lot of belief in yourself that you have to have and trusting yourself. That's been probably my biggest lessons in the entrepreneurship, but it also is probably just the beginning. There's so much more layers to unpack. So it's like someone said to me once, there's another devil at every level. So when you level up, there's another devil you've got to face, another layer that has to get peeled back. And the different triggers that are going to happen with certain friendships and people you thought were in your corner but really aren't. It's a whole lot that entrepreneurs, business owners have to deal with, definitely.
Oh yeah, I've faced that a lot, especially since stepping into the coaching space. I didn't realize how much it would trigger those around me. Does that make sense? And that their words would trigger me. So, I mean, me and you, Vanessa, we've had conversations about those friendships that just when you start to understand yourself and you go on this journey and you become a lot more confident within who you are and what you're doing and more aligned, it doesn't always make sense to those that have maybe known you for 10 years. And, they'll either disappear or they can say things that are really hurtful. overall, we know as coaches that it's a projection of how they're feeling about themselves. But in that moment, it does trigger something inside of us. And I mean, I had something that said to me recently, I am going to swear now. It was, well, what you're doing now, I think is a pile of shit, but you're happy. Now,
Like a backhanded comment, isn't it?
Wow. Yeah.
You're happy, but it's shit. What is
yeah.
that?
And I guess it's because they don't understand really what I'm doing as a coach and why I'm doing it. Because
Mm.
this particular person, they like to trigger a reaction out of me. I will say that. So they come out with like comments like this all the time. But this was a genuine, don't get it. I think it's a load of shit. And at the end of the day, you and the kids are happy. So you just don't want you regretting it in 10 years. And for me, I was just like, initially I was taken back a bit. And it was like, should I go back to having a product-based business where, there's a physical item that I'm giving somebody? I'm like, no, because actually I see the transformation and the growth in the women I work with, and even with the men I've worked with in the past as well, or training, and that means more than anything. That's the true joy in what I do, is seeing their growth, and I learn too. We all grow within it, and you're right. Every time you hit your next level, there's going to be something that is triggered in you that you have to look at and think to yourself, okay, why did that trigger me? Because for me, like I said, I never expected that going stepping up in my business and stepping up to that next level, that I'd have so many triggers and so many things that I would need to look at and
Yeah.
learn from.
But I feel
But
it's like
it's part of the
normal
journey.
for sure. Like it's normal, especially maybe women we can relate because we've been conditioned in a very different manner than guys, you know? Guys can show up seemingly not afraid and confident and with a bravado and like I don't care, like the critique, the projection, like whatever, it doesn't touch me. But they are, actually really much more vulnerable than they appear. And so, us talking about the feelings and actually understanding that we need to learn to understand them and learn to manage them and process them, and so that we can be, a better human and a better mother and then a better leader in the community and a better partner if that's the choice that we're making, right? It's actually, it's just, I feel it's just like, a normal, like it's just a level of responsibility that not a lot of people understand, and it's a level of commitment to our own, but also the wider kind of, the worldwide basically consciousness, whatever you want to call it, and we are attuning to that. And so of course people who are still living a very different reality in their mind and are very like fear-based are gonna, kind of show us what is still kind of, those bits and pieces in us that are judging us and are being critical to what we're doing and are fearful, because and being an entrepreneur is basically facing the fear of creating, your own kind of abundance and reality every day, which is the most courageous. But it does take, you have to be, that you have to show up, and you can't be just like taking a sick leave every fortnight and be like, hiding under the duvet and mad at your boss because you're the fucking CEO. And that's like, if you don't show up, nobody will show up. Like nobody will be sitting in the corner, right? And also because a lot of people, like I was just laughing yesterday, my VA, she's younger, she's not from my culture, and she's like, well, why don't you just like, do more like reels and stuff, like that's really that's really hip. And I'm like, I am fully aware what is hip, like, and what is trending. I'm like fully aware. I do watch, social media. It's just not my cup of tea. Like I don't like, what am I going to film? Me working all day and then picking up my kid and then going groceries? Like what is there? Like there's no, like it's not a luxury lifestyle, dude. Like it's and then she's like, oh, that sounds sad. And I was just like laughing. I was just like, I was like, I get it. Like she has special, humor. But I was like, but it's really not about that, I'm not selling my lifestyle, even though my lifestyle is pretty good. But it's like, I'm not selling that. That's not who I am. It's not what I do. It's not what I'm about, but it's like, it's just a very different approach to life. Like for me, it's more meaningful to read a book or to do a podcast or to do something, at 6 a.m. than to film myself in a car, doing whatever, something fancy with my Gucci. Like, it's just not who I am. But I feel that it's like, it's just women take, responsibility and kind of the breaking cycles much more seriously, maybe sometimes than, men, and for very, very biological and psychological reasons too, I feel, it's very real. So,
Yeah, I think for me, I saw the biggest switch I saw was a difference in my kids
mm,
and the difference in my relationships with people. So I was like, I had all the labels of savior, people pleaser. Like when you really dig into this, the kind of self-worth stuff and our transformations and our journeys, for those that are new to this, you all literally there'll be all these labels, and it's really important that you're honest with yourself about
mm,
which ones you are and which ones you're comfortable with and which ones you maybe don't do you any good. And I remember when I first started really digging in, and I said to my coaches, I can't heal and launch what I was going to launch at the same time. It's impossible. I can't do it because I'm so in it. You say shelve it or pin it. I can't do that. And I got comfortable with that, and I allowed myself to go and do the healing first and look at my triggers and look at the things, the choices I was making that weren't serving me in my life and my business. And I allowed myself to do that bit first. Now I'm glad to say, 12 years on, even though, I mean, doing something like this, it's brought up lots of triggers. It's brought up imposter
mm.
syndrome. It's brought up the identity stuff. It's literally brought up everything. But I'm still every single day moving forward and still doing it. But I think that's because I learned how to do that. Initially, when I started, I couldn't do that.
Mm.
Then I started to do the healing while just taking small steps, not the big leaps, not like doing the really scary things, just the little small steps. I was still had some momentum. And then it led to like, okay, I can do the launches and I can do the big leaps while I'm still learning and healing and everything else. But it
Mm.
took a while for me to get to that space. I think it can be really difficult initially. I mean, everyone is at different stages of their journey. Those watching this, you ladies, we're all at different stages. I think one thing that really helped me was having that support, that community. And like you, Helena, I I know the power of reels and being in the marketing side of things, I can give everyone all the ideas and go, well, why not try this and
Mm.
this? But I have to, when I do a reel, I have to be in the moment. It has to feel powerful to me. I feel like I don't want to make a reel just for the sake of it. I would much rather be having conversations like this and connecting with people in other ways than constantly just pushing content for the sake of pushing content.
Yeah,
But
and also the healing, I feel it's kind of like used word right now because it's like, oh, like I'm healing, so I can't be acting upon things. It's like it's not true because you can decide in every moment of like right now, you can decide you're fully aligned with whatever is the best right now for you, and you just act from that powerful self, and that's it. That's all you need. If you can believe that, like for just 10 minutes and 15 minutes and half an hour and then an hour, like and act from it, it's all you need. And often we do it from doubt and we do it from fear and we do it whatever. And half awake. And it's like, but it's good enough because not everybody's raised to be a perfectionist or whatnot. And sometimes, like for people who are really, really good at what, we do, even your 50% will be good enough for somebody if you just show up, and you believe in yourself, like girls, like when ladies said before.
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
you're
I
okay,
think we're
Jennifer.
all becoming more and more and more of ourselves. And sometimes I kind of question if we're actually self-defeating in talking
Yeah.
about healing,
Yeah.
because it implies that there's something broken. And I'd
Yeah.
actually dispute that concept. I mean, I've certainly lived in it for a very long time, lived in that belief that there's something broken that I have to feel and heal
Mm.
and fix. And yet, the more time I spend with a variety of people, there's nobody without a story.
Mm.
We've all got stories that we're moving beyond, we're moving through, we're growing into something bigger. And I question if by sitting in the notion of healing, we're actually limiting ourselves. And,
Mm.
and if we step into the notion of becoming, that perhaps it's a more empowering position to sit in, because I think we're all growing. We're all becoming more and more of ourselves in every moment. And like in running a business, you are constantly developing new skills. There are so many skills required to run a successful business, and you're forever learning new ways of improving or enhancing or growing in what you're doing, or else you're sitting still. So if you want your business to grow, you get the opportunity to grow yourself. And if you're happy with where you are, then, you can sit comfortably in that for a while. Um, but if you want things to be different, for those who have a vision of doing more, you're forever growing. You're forever learning new things. You're forever expanding. And learning's not comfortable. We hit places in learning where it's like, oh, this is boring, this is frustrating, this is annoying, this is, whatever it is. But the process of learning while we can make the experience as positive as possible, the process of learning isn't comfortable.
No.
It isn't joyous. Acquiring new knowledge is joyous, but the process of getting there is actually not.
Can be
So
quite
we're
messy.
forever.
Yeah.
It can be really messy. It can be really, really messy. You can be a bit like a toddler trying to
Mhm.
write, like the paint's going everywhere and
Yeah.
only the toddler knows what they're writing. But eventually you get it together and you
Yeah.
get past the mess, and people will just think you're natural at doing what you're doing. But
Mm.
it's only because you've been willing to sit in the mess. Nobody starts out as a natural writer.
No.
We all had to learn.
Mhm.
Vanessa, what are your thoughts, lovely?
Yeah, I agree with what was just said. It was because like when you're healing and coming from like putting my Reiki hat on, like a lot of people are healing, like everyone has their own story. And when they come to see me, they just want help to move through what they're feeling because it's that moment where it's like you can feel so many emotions when you are healing, when you're being triggered, when you remember memories from your childhood, or you don't know how to piece them together at all. So you're looking for, someone to help clear the energy, help with your stress, help with anxiety, but also help to find the answers. And a lot of people, when they come to see me, they want to look for it outside of them.
Mm.
And what I find in my sessions and what I tend to guide them towards is finding it within themselves. So what are they feeling? Where does that feeling come from? And give them that hour or so to just be in that meditative state, to set their intention and to help guide them to calm their emotions, because healing, yes, can trigger you, but it's also your nervous system that can also, need regulating when you are in that state, whether you're angry, frustrated, sad, disappointed, whatever emotions come up. But it's just giving yourself that grace and whatever time to kind of come back into neutral balance, but also know that it's not permanent. Things are in cycles and are in phases. So you may feel triggered one day, but then being kind to yourself in whatever way, whatever self-care that means, whether it be Reiki, meditation, yoga, a walk in nature, dancing, listening to music, bringing yourself back when you do feel triggered, is really important, because then it's like, that, okay, you can move through it. Like I can still continue with showing up on social media or continue with my business, doing whatever you need to do in the background, admin, invoices, whatever that is. But knowing that it's okay, I can move through it, I can do this, and reassuring yourself, you're giving the example to yourself that you can do it. So yeah, there's giving yourself that grace and being kind to yourself when you are healing and when you are a business owner is a way to help you move forward still in your business, but also when you are healing and feeling triggered as well.
Yeah, I think for me, I would use the term more. I do use healing a lot. I'm going to say that, but I think for me, I prefer saying on my growth journey, because one, I love the analogy that Jennifer used on a different episode about growing the garden and everything. But like you said, we're constantly growing, we're constantly developing and changing. Our identities change, everything changes, right? And with that change, we can either choose to sit, like when things change around us, we can either choose to sit in the negative or sit in the shit, as my coach would say, or we can choose to grow and learn and develop and move forward. And for me, a major part of that moving forward has come from looking at my triggers and looking at my childhood and accepting what I can't change and making the decisions to either allow it to affect me in a negative way or use it in a positive way to change my life and others. I mean, that has been a journey in itself, to be able to do that and to be able to learn the skills to do that. But within obviously the accreditation qualification I did as a coach, that was a non-negotiable. As part of that course, that was a non-negotiable. We had to do that because otherwise, we were likely to project onto clients. So I'm so grateful for the journey I went on with that, because not only can I pass that experience on to the people I've worked with and talk about it in the show and in conversations like this, but it's a reminder for me every single day that I've got choice. Does that make sense to you, ladies? It's
For sure. Yeah. I mean,
it's
when you come from a very kind of dynamic family, it's like it's even, the element of finding peace is just so like important, right? So whatever that means, for one. And so so many people around me would escape into alcohol, drugs. I like everybody that I know, you know, sex, speed, like adrenaline, like whatever, you know. And I remember the first time when there was, you know, something very, very, you know, wild and inappropriate kind of happening in my house, and I could feel my mom was not well. Like, but my choice was because I was reading books already when I was like 16 about meditation and like whatever stuff. I was just like, you know, now it's opportunity for me to sit down and just be with it and observe my emotions. And it was super difficult because everything in me was just like wanted to get out and like scream at her and just like, you know, argue basically, you know, but it was in that moment, and then I started more and more practicing that, and you know, has been meditation has been a huge part of my life because we're very like passionate Slovenians, right? So we have a lot of emotions, and we just like love to react and be like ba 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 ba, you know, and it's like, who are you, and blah blah blah, and this is my emotion, and this is my boundary, and fuck you, and just like, you know, it's like that, and it's like it can get really, you know, loud. But once you start meditating, you allow to see the gap between what are you actually experiencing and what could be a different reality if you don't go with this way, but you actually choose a different way. And I feel that's the most empowering thing that one can do to start with.
That's exactly why I love meditation so much.
Yeah.
Because like you, I don't know whether it's because the Jamaican in me, the Roman, like obviously the nickname I grew up with was United Nations, right? And I guess that's where the identity battle always happened for me because of having all these different cultures within my genes. But there is for a lot of years I was very fiery. It was either one or the other. I was either really fiery or very reactive, or I was silent. There was no in between. I'd either try and people please and keep the peace, or I'd fight. Um, Usually verbally, obviously. But yeah, when I started meditating and I started grounding and I started looking for that peace, that sense of peace, um, that came up for me the end of last year because I wasn't making as much money as I had in previous businesses, obviously, because I was just starting out and I was on my journey. Um, but I had this sense of peace that I'd never ever felt in my entire life.
Mm.
And that for me was just like heaven. It was
Mm.
scary, it was different, but yeah. And what got me that sense of peace was going for the walks, finally having time to making time to take care of myself, um, do the things I enjoyed, know that the direction I was heading with my business wasn't about me, it was about what felt good to me, how I could help people. I don't know, meditation and visualization, anything that brings you back to self, I think, and gives you that kind of grounded at peace feeling is so valuable within life and business. Personally, that's my personal kind of belief. Yeah, that's what I found over the last 6 months, 7 months.
Yeah, I think being in that space of peace, that inner calm, allows you to respond to the world, to circumstances, to situations, rather than to be reactive and fiery and like out of control sometimes. Being calm, being still, it gives you the opportunity to choose how you want to respond, choose what you'd like to do with what's happening. And that puts you in a really powerful position to start building your business intentionally, to create um, what you'd like rather than trying to grab pieces together. Somebody once said to me that you engage a business to bring clarity to your chaos. Like you engage a service provider if they can create clarity and calm to what was previously chaotic and without meaning and structure. But if you have a way of structuring information, structuring an experience, structuring some form of chaos for somebody into a form that is smooth and that flows and that brings peace and ease and relaxation, that's a real value. Whether it's mental clarity that you've framed
Mm.
and made meaning of concepts, whether it's that energetic clarity, and it's usually a combination of all of them, that
Mm.
energetic clarity where you can create stillness and calm where somebody's highly emotional.
Mm.
All of those things bring to an organization or to an individual something that they didn't have before, and that's valuable.
Yeah, I feel, may I just like, because it was, and also to be, I just love what you just said, Jennifer, because this was kind of like a part of like why I've entered the heart healing education, but also because I was like, I just needed somebody who would be helping me with the trauma and everything just piled up and like my body was reacting in a not good way. So, but then the need, like the healing I feel, at least for me, it was like I just needed to put a pause on everything and take care of myself first. And it was not that I stopped doing I did stop doing work with the clients at that point because I was just like I just needed that time for myself, and I was able to give that to myself, forced, able, whatever, it's how life goes. But it's like I just feel that it's really important. So many people miss that sometimes you do need, yeah, that like really in-depth, healing because of how much trauma has kind of, I don't want to call it trauma, but just life experiences that we're interpreting in a very different way, or we've been told this is what happened and this is how you should see it and da da da. And so there's not, so you feel all this like emotional turbulence and a lot of feelings, and you've been just like overreacting, and it's not a very peaceful experience for people around you. So I feel that's kind of like it's so valuable if we can have that and give that to ourselves, and be in that space with people who are actually able to give us the energetic but also the mental kind of like peace and clarity and a little bit of structure so that we can understand like what is happening
Mm.
a little bit, right? So then we can, like for me that was like a very important thing. Again, like, it just goes in like waves, but yeah, for sure.
Mm.
I definitely think, obviously, I know you don't want to use the word trauma, um, but obviously, I had a lot of childhood trauma, similar to yours, Helena. Um, and because obviously my life was very much like a never-ending episode of EastEnders, it's how my friends used to phrase it,
Mm.
and it stayed like that. And obviously, you were talking about, clarity and chaos, Jennifer, and there's always, I've had to learn to accept that whether it be life or business, I'm going to have challenges that feel like chaos going on around me.
Mm.
We can beat around the bush and say, oh, you've got a difficult life, or you've got all of this going on. But actually, I choose to run a business regardless of the fact that my children have additional needs. I'm caring for my granddad, and I have all these other responsibilities. I made the choice to be a business owner, so I have to find clarity in that chaos every day and find ways that work for me. And also, obviously, our clients tend to be married, so they're going to have something similar going on. And the only way for me to do that was to look at the triggers, the learned behaviors, the subconscious reactions that I was having. Because let's face it, a lot of our responses and reactions aren't necessarily our natural reactions.
Yeah, for sure.
We're taught
For
how
sure.
to respond and react,
Mm.
from life and our parents and the communities that we're in and wherever. And sometimes it's just pure subconscious. We don't know any difference. We just react in a certain way. And I think it can be really powerful when you kind of sit there for a little while and start trying to unpick where those reactions or responses and those learned behaviors come from. Because I think it gives us more knowledge. And like we said, knowledge is power. There's different types of knowledge that can become your power within life and business.
For sure.
Vanessa, you smiled a little bit then. Sorry, Jennifer.
You're right. Go, Vanessa. What have you got?
No, that's all right. Like I was just thinking back what Helena said earlier, about like giving yourself that time and space. Like as a business owner, entrepreneur, like I think we tend to put pressure on ourselves to having to do something all of the time. And it's like we have to be seen to be doing the work, showing up on social media. Otherwise, we're not moving anything forward. But there is so much power in that pause that we can take for ourselves. So if we do need a break, to identify it, and if we're feeling the burnout, if we've been triggered by something or something has come up in us, it's like taking that pause. And I did that last month, and I think that was when I connected with Sarah. And it was when things were going on with some friends, and I'm like, what is going on here? And it was me acknowledging that I'm changing, I'm becoming a new version of me, and not everyone understands that, and me accepting that that was okay. But then also it's like, well, how do I continue showing up in my business? How do I keep recording and editing podcasts and advertising the events and things like that? But it was like knowing that it's like, okay, energetically, what I put out now probably won't land because the energy isn't behind it. So I needed to take that break, and that was okay. And there is the power in the pause, because it was probably about 3 or 4 days that I took off social media, not doing anything. But then the creative ideas started to flow. So I was doing voice notes and what I could do for content. And when that passed, when I was ready to go, it was like, bam. And everything that has come in since then is just incredible. And it's like, well, that's okay. Like as a business owner, you acknowledge that it's different from being an employee. So with an employee, you could take sick leave and it'd be okay and then back to work. But this, it's you, like you said, you're the CEO. Like it stops with you. So acknowledging that it's okay, yep, I can take a pause, that it's okay, and then come back to it, like when you're ready to. And that, you know, it could be a couple of days, 2 days a week, but knowing how to take care of yourself, like meditate, we've mentioned that is such a powerful tool. But yeah, it's just, I wanted to just acknowledge that, like finding the power in the pause and knowing that that's okay. You know, as a business owner, we need to look after ourselves, especially with our mental health, stress levels, all the things. It really matters.
We're the engine behind everything. And so I've like some of the coaches that I've trained with, they're doing like 8 figures or 7 figures. They put that into their schedule. The CEO day, the off Fridays for doing this and this with their kids. They put that, it's in the schedule. They're not kidding around with their energy or with their time. It's scheduled in. The exercises, the photo shoots, the self-care after the live events, live launches, the self-care for 5 days, the food, who brings the food, who does this, who does that between the live launch. Like when we were doing this, I was like, this is really interesting. Like she was really good at like, this is, you need to take care. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. But you really do prepare the clothes, do this. Who's going to pick up the kids? You're going to be exhausted. Like, who's going to do this? Like, you're going to be talking, you're going to be selling. You need to show up. And showing up is not just something that you can do like this, not for most people. Yeah, right. It's kind of like being on stage, doing your PR. It's like representing the whole company, you know, the whole value, like, you know, to your people. And it's not just like as, like jumping, and doing live reels like every 5 minutes. Like I just don't believe that. Like I feel it's like you really have to show up. Like you're doing, you're having a meeting in your boardroom and you're presenting stuff and you need to be put together and all that. And I feel that's really important. And also, I remember one of my mentors, she was always like, you need to take Fridays are off. You're not working on Fridays. And I was just like bored to hell. But like, true, 3 days off work does miracles for the brains, of us who are like always overthinking.
Yeah, I think we forget sometimes that actually pausing isn't stopping.
No.
That pause is so, like
creative.
you said, so powerful. The pause I took, led to this. The pause I took, and I didn't launch things that weren't aligned with me. And instead, what is going out from this month has so much more power and clarity behind it.
Yeah.
So much more
It's
potential.
potent. Yeah, it's like potent energy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I wasn't trying to push. I wasn't trying to go, well, I need to get something out. I need to make a name for myself in this industry because everyone knows me for having these product-based businesses. People don't know me for having this. As soon as I was like, stop, and just because I did stop at that point, did some work around me and my points and everything, and then the child work, and then I started again. And then I realized I wasn't quite aligned. So I took that pause. I didn't stop completely this time, I just took a pause and allow myself to start really understanding what it was I wanted to create and the impact I wanted to have. And everything changed from there. The energy was different behind what I'm doing. It's more enjoyable. And like you said, Helena, with the whole CEO kind of routine, or how did my coach put it to me yesterday? Like it's just like the CEO regime, like when everything was in my diary, my exercise, my sounds silly, my supplements, time with my kids, when I wrote it down in my diary, it happened. And then a few weeks ago, I stopped putting it in my diary. Guess what happened? I always just tell myself I'm not consistent. I'd been consistent with all of it for nearly a month, but because I didn't put it in my diary, that consistency went. So, but again, that's something I've been able to learn, and everything now goes in my diary.
Yeah.
That's how I make time for it. And everyone's gonna have a different way, right? Of being able to, I can't time block. It doesn't work for me. I can't time block. Other people time blocking is great. For me, I work better if I, have 3 tasks that I need to complete in the day. And they could be small or they could be big. And I set myself 3 or 4 hours a day to work. And no more than 4 days a week, like you were saying, Helena. Like taking that time off, that long weekend, having quality time for myself, my kids, and my friendships, that in itself changed the whole dynamic of everything I was doing and the energy behind what I was doing.
Yeah, because I was just like, we're now doing a lot more outreach to podcasters. I was not doing any podcasting for years, like at all. And I'm very like introverted in my business. I do love writing, but and there was like several of people who are sending the schedule, and it's like, can you book in on Sunday? Like, so we can record on Sunday. I'm just like, I'm not like, no, thank you. Like, I don't need that stress. Like it's not just easy peasy showing up. Like people don't, it's business. Like why would I want to talk this? It's my Sunday. It's my off day. It's very, very important. Even if I'm not doing anything significant, I'm taking time to be with myself. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am conscious of the fact, like, we're doing this project, and obviously it's not just a project because I want this to run for, I've said it to all of you, I want this to run for years to come and to have impact and help people for years and years. But
And you
obviously,
will. Yeah.
we're in true authenticity, we pre-record these and we set quite a heavy schedule so that, school holidays and things are present with our kids as much as possible and that we're not overworking. And I'm conscious of the fact that I did put in a few Saturday and weekend dates, more purely because we are working globally. So there's a lot of us all
I
over.
understand. And some people are okay with that. It's okay. Yeah.
But I don't think it's productive to do it as the norm, like every week. I like the way I phrase it to my kids is, okay, mum's going to pre-launch. And they know that means that they're going to get slightly less time with me and I'm going to be a little more distracted, which means usually when I'm cooking dinner, I'm going to have my laptop there as opposed to having the music on and dancing around with them. And then pre-launch is, okay, we need to be best behaved because as soon as mum launches, then we've got a week, but you're saying we've got a week where we can enjoy some real quality time. And like the pre-launch side of things, like last week, my little boy didn't want to go, but my little girl, we went to a care farm, and and walked around there, spent some time together. The week before we went to Comic-Con, so they know they get that at least one dedicated full day of quality time where I'm not distracted by anything. But yeah, weekends are usually sacred. However, I remember in past businesses when no day was sacred, to a point where Christmas Day, I was out delivering last minute orders that other people's children had their Christmas presents, to a point where I missed Christmas dinner with my own children.
Yeah.
And I promised myself that would never, ever happen again.
Yeah. And I think you've nailed it there, Sarah. It's like we need to take control of our businesses and our lives and put boundaries in place and maintain those boundaries. And remember that we're human beings.
Of
We're not
course.
human doings. We're
Yeah.
not robots. It's like, and as beings, we need to be in the process of life and living, and the quality that we bring to business is the quality we bring from our lives. And so when our lives suffer, our businesses suffer. I found there's a relationship between what's happening in my life and what's happening in my business. If I get too business focused and I let go of time for friends and for things that are important in my world, then there will be a drop in my business because there's not the energy to maintain the business, like the energy that inspires and vibes up my business comes primarily through me and my life, and not the other way around.
I completely get that. I know that my energy levels, everyone thinks my energy levels have dipped lately because of the extra work I'm putting in. It's not that at all. It's the lack of connection with my closest friends. And it's not just because of me doing this, we've got a lot, all of us have got a lot going on at the moment. And we usually spend every weekend together. Every fortnight, we would go out and do something together with our children. And the following weekend, it'd be something like a girls' night out. We haven't done that because our lives have been so busy. And the problem with that is that my energy levels aren't where they normally, because she fills my cup. My best friend, that's my best friend.
You're
I'm
There's
gonna
a
edit this
fly
out.
in your apartment.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's
Oh,
live. It's not AI. Wonderful.
yeah.
We're real.
Edit that bit out. Really?
Pinch me.
And I think that's it with business. Like it's life.
Yeah,
Things
it's
aren't always
live. You can't
smooth.
fake it. Like, yeah.
Things happen. It's just like go with the flow. Today I had scheduled time to work with a client, and actually the client didn't appear, and I sort of I wondered what was happening and gave him a little bit of grace, and then we actually talked, and he was actually having a major health event.
Okay.
Ended up being taken to hospital in the ambulance and a whole lot of other things, and it's like, oh, life is precious. And just because something's in the diary, yes, it's more likely to happen, but it doesn't always happen.
Yeah.
And I must admit, after that was over and I knew he was okay, I actually went outside. I went out into the garden and thought, I need to breathe in this. I need to, I filled the green bin. I don't know about other countries, but here we have green bins that take away our green waste. And so I went and filled the green bin. That was my uh, my kind of reset, if you like, just to balance my energy back and be ready to come and do the next part of the day.
And I
And
think
things
that's
like
the
that
thing
happen all the
about
time.
us. Yeah, sorry.
So go.
I was going to say, and I think that's the thing about us, choosing to be business owners and entrepreneurs. It's like we don't want to live in be in that corporate structure. Like I still have a part-time job while I'm building things up to pay the bills. But when I build up things on when I'm my side projects and what I do here, it's like I'm looking forward to having that flexibility. So when things happen, I'm able to be there, I'm able to be present. And then it's like if I'm pulled here, pulled there, that's fine. But it's having that flexibility, but then motivating myself to know that it's like, okay, I had to be over here and that's okay. But now I can bring myself back into alignment and I can continue with whatever I need to get done in my business. And I think that's that flexibility that I think a lot of people are craving at the moment, because if they wanted to spend more time with their children, be present at dinner time, pick them up from after school and take them to an activity, just different things like that. I think being that business owner allows that, but it also comes with the triggers, the healing part of it, the growth, but also it's like it comes with a price, so yeah, I think as a business owner you have to manage the triggers and the emotions that come up, but also the rewards of the flexibility that you can schedule in your own day for different activities and to be with your friends, your family, to be present in your life and create that life that you want.
For sure.
I think with the flexibility, sorry, Jennifer, I keep cutting you
Go.
off. I
That's
think
okay.
the
Go.
flexibility thing, I think a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, unless they've obviously done what we're talking about, I remember a mentor I didn't pay for this advice. It was a mentor given to us by a business program, if you like, local business program. But it was like you get to choose as a business owner, you get to choose which 12 hours of the day you want to work. And, I remember laughing because I was thinking to myself, well, I'm doing like 20 hours a day. Now I think I'm laughing because you don't have to work 12 hours a day. And I think we have to really look, and this is why the journey, the growth journey is so important. We have to look at why we're making those decisions. I was scared of letting customers down. I was really, that was scared failure, right? I was fear of failure. I needed to build business quick. I needed money. I needed this. Or so I thought. That was more my thought processes of I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to have this, I need to have that. And actually, I realized very quickly through going into paid containers where I was properly supported, that I didn't need any of those things. They were wants. And actually, what steps can I take towards getting what I want to achieve, get closer to what I want to achieve? And actually, what are my triggers? Why am I thinking that way? And this is right at the beginning of going back into business. I'm talking about sort of around 2020. So we're just coming out of lockdown here in the UK. So, there was a lot of fear there for everybody for different reasons. For me, I was looking at coming out of my marriage. I had 3 children at home, taking care of my granddad. My nan had passed away. So to me, everything felt like a priority and everything was needed to happen yesterday. But like I said, it wasn't a need. It didn't need to happen yesterday because I wanted it to happen as quickly as possible because I wanted to feel safe. And because I like to, like you said, control, right?
Yeah.
We like to control. But actually, we try and control the wrong things a lot of the time, I find. I know I did. I try to have control over things that are completely out of my control, aren't my choices to make. What we do get to control are our choices, our responses, and how we deal with things and how we move forward. And I think that's really important in business. When we understand that, we make bigger breakthroughs in business, I think. Jennifer?
You're absolutely right, Sarah. And I think one of the things we have to start moving out of is this notion of set business hours for ourselves when we run our own business. Many people go into running their own business to create freedom, and yet they bring in the structures of a 9 to 5 or whatever their typical workday was, and they force themselves to sit at the computer and work or do wherever they do their work for those hours, even if they're not productive hours, because that's work time. And then they work out of that for all the things that they didn't do because they really weren't in the right space. But it's like if we're rethinking the game and rethinking what it means to run business, to create freedom within that, within boundaries, we need to start opening up our minds and creating new paradigms about what work hours look like, what rest looks like, what life looks like within the flow of things, how we structure our time and make meaning of our day. Sometimes my work day looks like starting at 10:30, working till 12, starting at 2, but then I might well work till 10 because for me, actually at night, that is my most productive time of the day. But the early part of the day, I'm much better playing. I'm much more productive. But if I have a big writing project, I will do that in the quiet of the night. So it's just about finding your own rhythm, finding the places and spaces where you can make a business work for you.
For sure.
And being willing to grant yourself the freedom not to be working, to just walk away and to allow yourself to go down and, look at the beach or go and have coffee or go for a walk or whatever it is that takes you away and that puts you in flow. Because as Vanessa was saying before, it's like those few days of taking time out, that's when all your good ideas came. So it is there's a reason for taking time out, but it's also if you want business to give you freedom, then structure business for freedom.
Yeah,
Don't structure business.
I think all
Go.
of these things we're talking about, like control, choice, boundaries, I mean, picking our house, all of it, I didn't find I got any of that until I'd weaved that kind of that growth journey in. Does that make sense? I wasn't able to set boundaries. I wasn't making choices. I was fearful of making choices because I was scared of making the wrong choice. There is no wrong choice. We all know this. But back then, I didn't want to make the wrong choice and be a failure. And what was I going to do if it didn't work? And it wasn't, yeah, I think about it now that I'm hearing myself back and I'm just like, it's so not logical, Sarah. But subconsciously,
It makes
whether
sense, of course.
that's where I was at. And that's going to be, let's be real, that's going to be where a lot of people who are watching this right now
For sure.
are at. And the only way I learned those skills of putting in boundaries, and it was uncomfortable. It's not really comfortable. I find it really empowering putting boundaries in. Boundaries in place, like stepping back into still business for a little while to help out the last 6 weeks and then setting that date of no. I said 6 weeks and now this is my last week. I'm gone. And being able to be firm in that decision and feel confident in it and not be swayed into or guilt tripped into, wearing that safety badge. Feels really empowering and liberating. But that all came with healing. That I will say in that respect, it did. It came from healing the childhood traumas and then going into that growth space of learning. That collectively has led me to this. I mean, we're coming towards the end of the show now, but I just want to get your last kind of thoughts and advice for those that are watching as to, I guess, how to navigate, because it has a positive impact on our businesses, but initially, I guess for me, especially what I found is it made me stop in my business. I couldn't do both at the same time back then. So what advice can we give for those watching to be able to still take those steps?
For me, I'd say be kind to yourself, set goals and be kind. Like have intention as to where you want to move and give yourself grace. It's not either or, it can be both. And when you bring the two together in creating grace, creating space, to work with intention and to achieve results, but doing it in a way that becomes truer to you, that encompasses your life and your experiences rather than divides and separates. So, be aware, just notice, just reflect each week. Think about where you're not giving yourself grace and where you're not giving yourself space. And then just reflect on what is it I'm believing? What is it I'm thinking? What's holding me in this place of not allowing space for myself? That'd be my thought.
Thank you, Jennifer. Helena?
I feel like one of the stories that I sometimes tell to my clients when they're like, but how can I trust? And I'm like, but there's a little bird on the tree, and the bird needs to feed the kids, and they need to build the nest, and they need to, and like, so if the birds, without the intellect, without the hands, without the social media, like without any kind of support, maybe just a couple of, birdies around can trust to be, provided for, then, how can you not? And so I feel that's the muscle that everybody needs to learn how to train and chill and give yourself a break and be like, I'm available for any scenario that is not supporting me, and just open up to, because I mean, life will support you, but you need to put that trust in first and be like, hey, allow it to support and receive the support and be thankful for the support and be okay with the support coming from whatever source or resource it's coming from, and just be kind of grateful for it. I feel that's how you can grow your business then massively.
Yeah, trust is definitely something we didn't touch on, but it's definitely a huge thing. I guess because of my own experiences growing up and in business and stuff, I really, really, really struggle or struggled, I will
Me too.
say, past
Yeah.
tense,
Yeah.
with trust. But now I just have trust in the fact that I'll always have what I need to
Yeah.
survive and to provide for my kids and to do what I need to do. I've got what I need. And as long as I stay true to who I am and keep checking in with myself,
Yeah.
I know I can take those steps forward into creating something that feels aligned to me, and everything else will come. Everything else will come in the right time. As if I'd have spoke about 12 months ago, I would have said the same thing. That's come from, that growth journey. And that's how powerful it can be, is it can change everything very quickly, because
It can.
it just can. Because we look at all, like, we look at the shadow sides, we look at the good, the bad, the ugly, and we're able to do with it what we need to be able to, move forward. So
For sure.
right before we kind of shut down the conversation, Vanessa, I want to come to you, lovely.
Yeah, so I second everything of what has just been said, to allow yourself grace, to be kind to yourself when you do feel any emotions come up, when you have triggers, and also trusting yourself. That's been a massive part of my path recently. And I feel that I trust myself so much more because I check in with myself, like how I'm feeling. But also what came to me is boundaries. And I feel now that more I have found my voice, and that's what business has given me as well, finding my voice. It's boundaries. And that's something that has been more newer to me. And I'd realized I maybe didn't have boundaries. And I'm just like, what's going on? Because when you have to structure your days, when you have to sacrifice part of your social life or seeing someone, you really have to be trusting in yourself, and just to say, look, I can't do that because I've prioritized this for today. However, I can do this day. And it's setting those boundaries, but it's also with friendships as well. And, that for me has been, something in the front of my mind for the last couple of months, and it continues to be a journey. And, the grief and the healing that comes up with having to let friends go that aren't meant to be on this path at the moment, that takes some time to move through, and I'm allowing myself some grace. But I know that the boundaries I've set in terms of, the respect I deserve, and the type of friendship that I want in terms of support, is there available to me. And, moving through that has been hard, but yeah, boundaries is also very important as well. Yeah.
No, I get it. I never used to have any boundaries. I didn't.
Yeah.
I felt all the setting boundaries. They're great. I think that, there's a lot of golden threads here that have come from this conversation that are definitely going to go into, other episodes, because let's face it, we're going to weave in and out of all of it, because there's overlaps everywhere. But I just want to thank everybody for joining us today, you ladies as well, and everybody who's viewing. If you enjoyed the conversation, then obviously subscribe. If you feel like you might like a little bit of support, or to get to know these ladies a bit better, all their details are on my website. Link is in the description. So yeah, thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time, and take care until then.
Bye.
Bye.
You.